Hello everyone and welcome to another Feed Army video. My name is Emmanuel and today I will talk about a new email that most merchants would have received, which is that you need to migrate your content API to the merchant API. So this is the old Google Shopping content API that has been replaced by a new system called the Merchant API. So it has a lot of new features and there is a deadline until when the content API is still available. So let's go and have a look at the email itself so you know what Google is saying. So it says that API users must switch to Merchant API. Start using the Merchant API version 1 now to manage your Merchant Center and access data and insights. So here's what's next. There are 3 steps, but they're not really 3 steps. They're for different types of users. So if you've been using the beta version of the Merchant API, make sure that you migrate by the 28th of February this year, so 2026. If you're using the Content API, you have a bit more time until the 18th of August 2026 to migrate. And if you're not API users, then you can just migrate whenever you want. Now you might ask, okay, great. How do I know if I'm using the Merchant API or the Content API? Do not assume that if you're using a new app or an application or even the Google and YouTube app for Shopify, that that is what the new API is, the Merchant API. So simply go to Google Merchant Center. Now what we want to do is go and scroll on the left-hand side and go to Settings, Data Sources. And now if we scroll a little bit lower, we can see our primary sources. And then what we want to read is the source. If it says Content API, that means you're still using the old system. Now let's go and have a look at the comparison of what it should look like. So if we have a look at a different account, if we go to Settings and Data Sources, we can see that the source is Merchant API, and that is correct. So that is what we want to see. If you're seeing the Content API, then make sure that you update the application. Most likely, for example, with the Google and YouTube app, just follow the instructions or uninstall and install the app again, and then it should reconnect with the Merchant API. So it's very important that you do that before the deadline. I know a lot of merchants like to leave it till the last minute. Now, some things that you need to take into account. So if we have a look at the Content API here, which is the old system, we can see that there's a feed label and it says US. Most merchants in Google Ads will then create a campaign and then target the US as a feed label. You can also target by country, of course. So if you're targeting by country, then this is not as big of an issue because that will not be relevant. But if you're targeting based on feed label, then this is important. So what will happen is that you get a very random feed label. So you get the currency, GBP in this case, and then underscore with a random number. So you might ask, okay, well, what happens if you don't do anything in Google Ads? Well, what will happen is that all your products will be disconnected from that specific campaign. So what you need to do is reattach it in Google Ads in the settings. And you might say, okay, but can I not just change the feed label? Yes, you can if that is a non-Merchant API version. So if you click on it, normally when you go to the data source setup and you scroll to the bottom, you can change this feed label. However, unfortunately, you can't do that now. So that is not an option. So you do have to then update your campaign. It's quite easy. Once you've done this, wait roughly half an hour to 24 hours. And then in Google Ads, you can change it. So let's have a look how that looks like in Google Ads. So here I am in a account and all we have to do is go to our, for example, Performance Max or our standard shopping campaign and then click on the settings. And then under feeds, you can change to select a specific feed or use all available feeds. Now, if you have multiple countries, don't worry. As long as you're targeting with that campaign one specific country, you will not use all the feeds, but you will use just that specific feed for that specific country. However, sometimes if you're targeting multiple countries, it might be wiser to specifically assign the feed label because in certain situations, Google does mess up. I've had some clients very randomly, it's maybe like just 5% of the cases, do have a merchant that says, oh, now the products show, for example, in US dollars, while it should be GBP. that can happen. So that's why just use a feed label to avoid that issue. But if you're only targeting one country, then that doesn't matter. And the same for standard shopping campaigns. So what we do is click on the settings, and then here feeds, select a specific feed, and then you can choose the feed label. So that is how you target specific feed labels in Google Ads, and checking in Google Merchant Center if you're using Content API or the new Merchant API. This might be confusing, of course, as it's all very new, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment downstairs or reach me out personally, and I'm happy to assist. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.